Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of Movie Night with Mac. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy that you are here. Since this is the first episode, I just want to start off with a little introduction about who I am, what this show is, what this show is going to be. My name is Mac. I'm a UAB student who loves to watch movies, and if you are here listening, I assume you are also one of those things, if not both of those things. I'm just here to talk about some movies, man, on this podcast show that I got. We're going to have monthly episodes. With each episode, I'll be discussing some of the movies released within the month, my reviews of the ones that I saw, and also some movie news, some upcoming movies that we should be looking forward to. So let's just jump straight into it. This will be my September episode, everything that I watched in September, everything released in September that I watched, along with some news later on. I started September with Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, obviously the sequel to the iconic Tim Burton film from 1988. Now, it's a common trend, everyone knows it's a common trend from Hollywood to be obsessed with these sequels and these spin-offs, and a lot of them are pretty subpar, but I like this one a lot. I think it was done with taste. It was very fun and very vibrant. It looks fantastic visually. The costume designs were really fun. The set designs were super creative. The lighting was really good on these set designs and these scenes. A little bit of a gothy vibe, casting some shadows, along with some more fun scenes, you know. The visual effects were really good. Sometimes gory. There were some pretty funny moments that were a little graphic, but you know, nothing too bad. I thought it was pretty fun. They also play around with some different mediums, such as like a little bit of claymation and stop motion in some of the scenes, and I think it works really well. Overall, there's just a lot of creative liberty in this one. I think for the most part, everything works really well. It really fits in its place. There's a lot of humor, especially from the cast and these performances. I thought how they handled the whole Jeffrey Jones situation was very funny. I thought the film as a whole actually benefited from the whole ordeal with him obviously not being in the cast anymore. I thought they handled it well rather than it being a roadblock for production. This cast has a lot of chemistry and character, something that it was highlighted by the promotion for the film. The interviews with the cast, they seem to get along great, and you can tell when watching it on the big screen. I forgot that Willem Dafoe was in this movie, and he was a surprise when he showed up. I thought his performance was definitely very good, even though I think his character only kind of works. I'll get into that later. Also, Catherine O'Hara was someone that I was a little indifferent to being in the cast. I'm just not as familiar with some of her work, but she ended up being one of my favorite characters and had one of my favorite performances of the movie. I think the standout performance, however, has got to be Michael Keaton. It's honestly so great to see Keaton reprise his role as Beetlejuice so well, and he breathes so much life into it, even being over 30 years after the original film. If I'm being completely honest, I was a little let down by Jenna Ortega and her character. I love Jenna Ortega, but I think she has officially passed the point of being able to play a schoolgirl. I'm not so sure why casting directors are so obsessed with giving her these roles. She's like 21. She's in her 20s. I don't know. I think she's very talented, but I hope she's able to escape this typecasting at some point in the near future. While I think this movie is very fun, plot-wise, it's not great. It introduces a lot of new characters, which is great, but it creates too many plot lines and subplots for just this one movie. There's lots of different stories happening, pretty much entirely separate from each other, which leads to it being wrapped up in what feels like a pretty rushed finish. This is why I mentioned earlier that Willem Dafoe's character only sort of works. The plot line that he's a part of, to me, just feels kind of like an afterthought to the writers. Also, not really a complaint, but more of a comment. The movie kind of ends on a really confusing note. Almost like they just needed 5 more minutes of runtime and threw something together. It caught me off guard a little bit, but Overall, I had fun watching this. I thought it was a pretty easy watch. I'm gonna give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next up in September, I watched The Substance, a new horror film from Coralie Fargier, starring Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and Dennis Quaid. The first 30 minutes has a lot of style and personality. The cinematography is really fun. You know, it sets up the movie's premise well. It establishes the overall tone of the movie in these first 30 minutes. However, after that, as the plot progresses, the movie starts to derail a little bit, it feels. It has a lot of great ideas, but it doesn't really commit to anything that's super engaging. That's not to say that there wasn't a lot of moments that were very enjoyable, though. Despite its heavy promotion as a body horror film, I was not prepared for how gory this was going to get, honestly. The hair and makeup and prosthetics make certain moments and characters just look absolutely grotesque. I think of myself as a person that usually does well with gore and blood and whatnot, but there's a lot of moments that had me squirming in my seat. I'm not gonna lie, it gets a little gory. If you don't do well with needles, I would definitely warn you about going to see this. The body horror continues to one-up itself all the way into the third act, which is honestly just so absurd and so self-aware about its absurdity that you just can't help but let go and laugh. One of definitely the most outstanding parts of the movie, that third act, man, it's great. Also, while I'm speaking positively, I'll just mention some of the performances. Margaret Qualley is honestly what drew me into the film in the first place. I think she does great. The film doesn't have much dialogue at all, but she's able to capture every scene that she's in with just her incredible screen performance. It's been a great year for Margaret Qualley as she continues to boast her range and work with more acclaimed filmmakers such as Yorgos Lanthimos. She had a small role in Poor Things last year, and also Ethan Coen. She had a lead role in Drive Away Dolls earlier this year. I think she's been great. I'm always ecstatic to see what she brings to her roles, and I can't wait to see what she works on next. Also, going back to The Substance, Dennis Quaid had one of, if not my favorite role in the film. The way he delivers his lines is so funny. It's also uncomfortable. His character is just like evil and weird. It fits the vibe perfectly. A very uncomfortable character. His costume design was also great. Every time I saw one of his goofy suits, it just brought a smile to my face, honestly. But yeah, I like this movie. I like The Substance. I wish it was just a little more coherent. It seems to get a little carried away, and the runtime feels a little bloated. But it was funny. It was gross. It was pretty creative, and it was fun to watch. I'm also gonna give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. All right, and finally, my final film of September was Megalopolis, the newest film from Francis Ford Coppola, one of the greatest living filmmakers of all time, known for the Godfather trilogy, Apocalypse Now, and many more. This was Megalopolis, starring Adam Driver, Giancarlo Esposito, and Aubrey Plaza. Now this one's a little hard to talk about, which is kind of what I was expecting. Reviews were very mixed when it first premiered, and I can see why. There's really a whole lot going on, and I can imagine, some people are way more into the chaos than others. The whole story of making this movie is super interesting. I believe Francis Ford Coppola basically funded the entire movie by himself, around $120 million out of his own pocket, and he was trying to get the movie made and someone to produce it for decades, supposedly. That's what I've heard. I may be misquoting. So, $120 million and decades later, does it live up to the hype? It's hard to say. I don't want to use the word mess, but it can come off as a little all over the place. Visually, some shots are absolutely stunning, and the visual effects will fully immerse you in this utopia. On the other hand, however, some scenes just look like anyone with an iPhone could film this in their local park. Like, I'm all for some good realism, but some of it is a little too realistic, and it kind of takes you out of it, There's like QR codes. I think at one point there's a glimpse of an iPhone camera. There's an Elvis impersonator. And it gets to a point, it's like, where are we, And I feel like that's kind of part of the themes of the movie. It ties into the themes a little bit, but it's a little disorienting, I'm not gonna lie. The performances are good, I guess. The writing is a little strange, and it's long-winded, and none of the conversations really feel real, but so some of the deliveries are odd, but it's hard to tell if that's the actors or the directing to pinpoint that on. I will say Adam Driver, I think, is great. Definitely a very underrated actor, in my opinion. I think it'll be a little easy for people to bash on his role in the film for reasons that I had mentioned. You know, some of the line deliveries and the writing is weird, so it's easy for people to kind of blame that on the actor that's delivering the lines. But honestly, his commitment to just Coppola's vision in this movie entirely, I think is great. I think he's really one of the more outstanding parts of this movie. A lot of the actors really are. They pull you in. The plot is also, let's talk about the plot. It's pretty strange. It's paced kind of weird. I mentioned earlier, it's a little chaotic. It feels like it kind of just dances around a central point, and it occasionally strays off to other subplots or character arcs, but it never really hones in on like a single plot line, and eventually it wraps up in kind of an odd place. There's never a real like climactic moment or, big finish. Not to say that every movie needs some, humongous third act, but it just feels a little incoherent at times. But honestly, it was a little strange, but I can't say it wasn't a very unique experience in that theater. It's really, like I said, it's hard to talk about. It's one that I've grown to love over the weekend. I'm gonna give it 2.5 out of 5 stars, but it's a very loving 2.5. It's not bad, it's not good, it's not so bad it's good. It's Megalopolis, man. All right, let's move into some movie news, man. Let's talk about some headlines that have appeared in this month of September. Starting, Joker Folie Deux premiered at the Venice Film Festival early this month and has received some mixed reviews. This is the highly anticipated sequel to the 2019 film. It debuted with a critic rating of 59% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's currently sitting at 63. Todd Phillips returns to direct and write, along with Joaquin Phoenix reprising one of his most iconic lead roles as Arthur Fleck, also known as Joker. Newly added to the cast is Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. Now, I can't say I'm the biggest fan of Gaga's career as an actress, but I think that she is spectacular as a musician, and hopefully her vocal ability will have plenty of time to shine in this musical. I'm aware that she released an album that is tied in with Joker Folie Deux. I have not given it a listen, but I'm very curious to see what kind of role the music takes in this movie. Personally, I was never really a huge fan of Joker. I thought it was fine when I watched it, but it never really stuck with me. I feel like it's pretty divisive, and I can already tell that I think the sequel will have probably the same outcome. Some people are going to love it and die on their hills, and others will probably call it pretentious or whatnot. But based off the trailers, I'm at the very least interested to see what this movie does with the plot and its characters. Stylistically, I think it looks great. The costume design looks great. The set design looks like it's taken a huge step up. From certain clips, the trailers looks as if probably be some courtroom drama elements. I just hope it takes it up a level further from its predecessor, because that's what sequels are all about. I want to see more about Arthur Fleck and more about the people of Gotham rather than the same movie from 5 years ago, but But I don't know. We'll see. That's Joker Folie Deux in theaters October 4th. All right, next up in the news, the first trailer for The Apprentice has been released. The Apprentice is a biopic that follows the life of Donald Trump in the 1970s as he enters the real estate business in New York. Just based on this first look, I'm excited for this movie. Firstly, the hair and makeup looks great. Sebastian Stan is starring as Donald Trump. And, they absolutely transformed him, the hair and makeup department, If you didn't tell me it was Sebastian Stan, I would have thought it was somebody completely different. He's pretty unrecognizable. The film also features Jeremy Strong as Roy Cohn, which I'm looking forward to seeing. I think Jeremy Strong is a great actor. I think he was remarkable in Succession, the TV show, if you're familiar. And this movie kind of seems to have a similar tone and style as Succession, business drama, people in suits and whatnot. So I think he's going to be great. I love Jeremy Strong. I love Sebastian Stan. I'm excited to see what they bring to these public figures. Also, based off the trailer, the cinematography looks like something I was totally not expecting. It seems to be adopting almost like a mockumentary style with quick zooms and pans and stuff. I just think it's going to be really interesting to see the public reception of this movie, because it doesn't really appear to be a super positive depiction of Trump. One of the quotes they use in the trailer is from GQ. It calls it a supervillain origin story, quote. We've seen some biopics in the past that show some pretty widely loved American icons in a pretty bad light. Sofia Coppola's Priscilla from, I believe, last year comes to mind. It kind of portrayed the toxicity of Elvis Presley and his treatment of his wife. But I think it's very interesting that this movie seemingly seems to be doing a similar thing, but with a figure that's still very much in the public eye, especially right now. And the trailer makes it seem like the movie will maybe even touch on his presidency or his 2016 campaign. So I'm sure there will be some pretty interesting discourse regarding this movie when it comes out. So we'll have to stay tuned. That's The Apprentice in theaters October 11th. And finally, for the news, if you were not anywhere on the internet for the first 2 weeks of September, then you will be unfamiliar with the first teaser trailer for a Minecraft movie starring Jason Momoa, Emma Myers, and none other than Jack Black. And it's not looking good. I'm not gonna lie. The CGI realism animation is definitely a choice. The cast, it looks like they just drew names out of a hat. The costume design looks like they look like photo booth prop costumes. They just picked stuff from a box and threw it on. They put Jack Black in a blue sweatshirt and they were like, there you go, you're Steve now. I don't know. This first look has already been torn to shreds by pretty much everyone online. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. There's not much original stuff for me to say. A lot of people are bringing up the trailer for the first Sonic movie a couple years back, with the Sonic design that was so ugly the internet basically just forced Paramount to change it. But I'm not hopeful that we'll see similar action here. I'm not gonna lie. It's not just one character design. It's like the whole thing. They're in way too deep to redesign this movie. But in all honesty, let's not pretend that it's gonna bomb. I feel like video game adaptations usually do numbers at the box office. Like no kid who's obsessed with Minecraft and has all the books and the t-shirts and action figures and whatnot, he's not gonna miss out on this opportunity to see this movie just because the animation is weird, family-friendly movie. I'm sure it'll make probably $1 billion, but whatever. That's in theaters April 4th, 2025, so we still got a minute to see where that goes. But that about does it for the September episode. Some upcoming October releases to look forward to. Terrifier 3, the third installation of the Terrifier series featuring Art the Clown. Pretty scary stuff for starting October. Piece by Piece, a biopic about Pharrell Williams presented in a Lego animation. That's really original. I'm excited to see how that is. Also, We Live in Time, a rom-com starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. Also, Smile 2, releasing in October, the sequel to the horror movie Smile, coming out just in time for October and Halloween. That should be a good scary movie. Also, releasing in October is Anora, directed by Sean Baker, premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in May, I believe, sometime earlier this year, and won the Palme d'Or, like the highest award, best movie at one of the most prestigious film festivals. So I'm excited for that. I like a lot of Sean Baker's work. I think that's going to be great. And finally, Venom: The Last Dance, which is the third movie in the Venom series starring Tom Hardy. So yeah, that is gonna just about do it for this episode. I want to thank you so much if you have listened this far. I'm really excited for some of these October releases. I'm definitely gonna have to check them out, so stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a wonderful day.